Chapter 2 in the first book of Adam and Eve, the rejected and lost text. It talks about the differences between living within the garden compared to living outside of it, as well as the uncertainty that Eve and Adam felt when they left the garden. When our father Adam and Eve went out of the garden, they walked on the ground on their feet, not knowing where they were going, and when they came to the opening of the gate of the garden and saw the land spread before them widely, covered with stones, large and small, and with sand, they feared and they trembled. When they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of a bright nature, and they had hearts not turned toward earthly things. Therefore God had pity on them, and when he saw them fallen before the gate of the garden, he sent his word to our father Adam and to Eve, and raised them from their fallen state. Chapter 3 is about the promise between God and all future generations. It is a prediction of the coming of the Word and Jesus Christ. God said to Adam, I have ordained days and years on this earth, and you and your descendants shall live and walk in them, until the days and years are fulfilled. Then I shall send the Word that created you and against which you have transgressed, the Word that made you come out of the garden, and that raised you when you were fallen. Yes, this is the word that will again save you when the 5.5 days are fulfilled. These were 5,500 years, and the one would then come and save him and his descendants. But before that, God had made his covenant with our father, Adam, in the same terms before he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree where Eve took of the fruit and gave it to him to eat. Because when our father Adam came out of the garden, he passed by that tree, and saw how God had changed the appearance of it into another form, and how it had shriveled. And as Adam went to it, he feared, trembled, and fell down. But God in his mercy lifted him up, and then made this covenant with him. And the Lord said to Adam, I told you, at the end of the 5.5 days, I will send my word and save you. Therefore, strengthen your heart, and stay in the cave of treasures. Chapter 4 is about how Eve and Adam's bodies physically changed once they left the garden and left their divinity and became human. Adam and Eve cried for having come out of the garden, which was their first home. And indeed, when Adam looked at his flesh, he saw that it was altered, and he cried bitterly. He and Eve cried over what they had done, and they walked and went gently down into the cave of treasures. Leaving the garden, they went from a world of lush flowers and fruit trees to a more desolate, cavern and desert-like environment full of rocks and stones. Now we do not see as we did. Our eyes have become of flesh. They cannot see like they saw before. Adam said again to Eve, what is our body today compared to what it was in former days when we lived in the garden? After this, Adam did not want to enter the cave under the overhanging rock. He never wanted to enter it again, but he bowed to God's commands and said to himself, unless I enter the cave, I shall again be a transgressor. Chapter 5 is a time of prayer. Then Adam and Eve entered the cave and stood praying in their own